Know about domestic violence?
What's happening? It goes both ways?
There you go. Very good. It destroys families. And what did you say back there?
I said it goes both ways?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's physical? Absolutely. Because it's not just physical. Absolutely. What else do you know? Okay. That's good enough. Those are some of the key things. You have your hand up? Go ahead. Go ahead. Absolutely. It's learned behavior. In the sense that a little boy can see mommy and daddy, and a little girl can see mommy and daddy. Daddy is the one who's very aggressive towards mommy. Johnny learns that you can control the household by using force, by using violence. So little Johnny begins to grow up and think that this is the normal way that it should be. And then little Sally is watching mommy taking the licks and the bruises and saying, oh baby, it's going to be okay. So little Sally then learns that that's okay to accept that type of behavior. But how many of you know that is not an acceptable behavior? Let me ask you this question. I heard somebody say amen. I'm a pastor, so, you know, it's like I'm almost ready to take out the offering plate. Let me share a little bit about, I'm going to share a little bit about my story, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about domestic violence, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions, and then I'm going to get out. And then if Dr. McCord wants me to come back in, and if you guys want me to come back in, spend more time with you, I would be very happy to do that. Just give me a call or have Dr. McCord give me a call, and then we'll take it from there. I was in a domestic violence relationship for about 20 years. At the time I was going through the relationship, I was married to the senior pastor of the church. So as a first lady, you don't talk about what's going on in your home. And being African American, usually that's part of our culture also. What happens in the home stays in the home, those types of things we hear as we're growing up. But the thing about the abuse that I went through, it was a combination of physical, emotional, psychological, you name it, I went through it. And what distinguishes domestic violence from just a regular family spat? Anybody got an answer to that? What's the difference between real domestic violence and just an argument? Pardon me? Absolutely. She said one key word, and it's control. In domestic violence relationships, it's all about power and control. How can I get it? How can I keep it? And how can I keep you under my thumb? So you won't have any power, you won't have any control. The moment that I see that you're trying to gain your own power back, your own control back, then I'm going to escalate my behavior towards you, and I'm going to either begin, before I was just pushing you. In order for me to get the control, now I have to tap you or slap you, or I have to push you and then do something else. But the whole motive of me doing all of that is because I want power over you. I want to tell you where to go. I want to tell you who to go with. I want to tell you what to think. I want to tell you what to eat. I want to tell you what to wear. I want to tell you when to go to bed, when to take a shower, who you can go with to the store, who you can't go with. And by the way, why are you not answering your phone? Can you imagine living under that kind of pressure? How many of you know somebody that is living under that kind of pressure? And how many of you have a way to address that, or would like a way to address that with somebody? Because the thing about relationships, I kind of was ear hustling with some of the guys back there when I came in. They were talking, I heard the word relationship. I didn't know what they were really saying, but I was trying to ear hustle so I could use it in my presentation today. But they were kind of, you know, soft-spoken, talking under their breath, so I didn't get anything for you guys. It's just the word relationship. But relationships are very, very difficult. And when you see a friend or a family member or somebody you know in a relationship that you know is not a healthy relationship, First of all, you can tell them, girl, I wouldn't have taken that from him. Or the guys, man, you can do better than that. But the person that's in that relationship, it's so difficult for them to, number one, recognize and see what you see, because love, they say, is blind, so they really can't see all the things that you see. And then when and if they do see what you see, then it's difficult for them to figure out how to get out of it. In our office, some of the most dangerous relationships that we've seen in our office is when the moment that a female or a male decides that he or she wants to leave the relationship. The moment that that decision is made, that's usually the time when it's the most dangerous, when she's at a point where she may really, really lose her life. And in my situation, that's kind of how things turned out. After being in the marriage for 20 years, my ex-husband said he had heard from the Lord a message, and it was time for him to leave the family and go over to the left side of town and get another family. So I was happy with that because there was so much abuse going on. But because I was first lady of the church, I never shared it with anybody. I never told anybody. Because remember, what happens in this house, stays in this house. So I never really told anybody. But the day that he thought that he had heard from the Lord, it was time for him to move on, I was happy that that had occurred. Not so much of the family was being dismantled, but the fact that I'm now getting to a place of safety. The moment that I made the decision, when he made the decision again to change his mind and not go to the other side of town, but to stay home, but then now I'm out of position, and I'm saying, no way, am I going to go back in this relationship? That's when his violence escalated even more so. I mean, we had gone through the Argentina turn thing, you know, my sons and I running out of the house in the middle of the night. They have on pajamas, I have on pajamas. My ex is acting really crazy. I mean, to the point where they're loaded guns. And loaded guns were pointed at my head. And this was like every Saturday night. What the heck is this? This is Saturday night. Shouldn't you be ready and preparing for your sermon on Sunday? Why is there a loaded gun up to my head every Saturday night or every other Saturday night? But enough times where it was like, okay, stop. But on this particular Saturday night, in reference that I'll talk about, my sons and I don't remember to this day how we got out of the house. We did get out of the house. I remember hiding with my two sons, and they were about 15 and 12 at this point. We were hiding in the bush as we saw my ex leave the house frantically trying to find us. But we're hiding in a bush, waiting for him to leave the house. And the moment that we saw the car turn the corner, out of the bushes we popped, run to a neighbor's house, get the neighbor to call the cops. Cops come, pick up myself and my son, take us to the police station. That was one night. Of course, this is Saturday night. Oh, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Sunday. Oh, church. Oh, I gotta go back into my acting role. Sunday morning comes, where am I? I'm sitting on the third pew because it's church. Because remember, what happens in this house stays in this house. Did I go back? Yes, I went back. Did I tell anybody? No, of course I didn't. Because what happens in this house stays in this house. But those types of episodes and incidents kept occurring. One other night, again, here's a Saturday night. This is about 4 months later or 5 months later. The funny thing about abuse is when it occurs, sometimes it occurs like once a year, and everything will be quiet, calm, and this is what gives a victim sometimes the security to think it's okay. Because, oh, he hasn't done anything, or we haven't had an episode in about 6 months, 7 months. But as the relationship was beginning to wind down, the episodes began to get closer in frequency and occurrences, and then more intense in occurrences. This one particular Saturday night, same thing. The guns are coming out. This particular time, he gets the gun out of the drawer, he gets all the bullets out of the drawer, stands in front of me and loads the gun, bullet by bullet by bullet by bullet, and I'm watching, sitting, terrified. My sons, who are teenagers, are in the next room, So I got to try to figure out how do I play this thing so that my sons won't get upset and come in and try to rescue mom, and then lo and behold, we have a whole family murder. So I really don't remember to this day. I know I prayed. The loaded gun, of course, went to my head and all those types of things. But on this particular night, somehow or another, I think I wore him down because this is going on for like hours of taunting me. 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours of the gun and putting the bullets in and taking them out and putting them in and taking them out. And I'm sitting there wondering, you know what? I had gotten so used to it, I just said, okay, you know what? Do what you got to do. One thing is going to happen for sure. I will never see your face again. So I was happy for the fact that maybe this time, this whole fiasco will stop. But I didn't have the strength as a victim at that point to get out of it myself. But the day that he decided that he's going to leave is the time when it escalated even more. He leaves, packs his things, sends the letter of divorce, and all those things that go along with it. I'm at mom's house. He decides that he wants to get the family back together. So he calls mom's house, mom and dad's house, two times within 5 minutes. I don't answer. He calls, hangs up, another 10 minutes go by. The phone is ringing. I'm not answering. Then the phone rings and it continuously rings until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't answer. Lo and behold, what night is this? This is usually what night of the week? Saturday. This is Saturday. So where should you be doing as a pastor on a Saturday night? Getting your sermon together. But so it's 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock usually in most Baptist churches you're getting ready to go where? To Sunday school. But at 7 o'clock, we hear glass shattering in the front of the house where my mom and dad lived. And I knew automatically, instantly, what it was and what was going on. I heard the glass shatter, and then we felt the house really, literally shake. And I'm thinking, that's not an earthquake. The glass wouldn't necessarily shatter first, and then the shaking. You would get the shaking and then the shattering. So, it turns out that it was. It was my ex-husband trying to get into the home. He had made a pact with some other friends on Saturday night, when he should be at home preparing the sermon, that this was going to be the night that he was going to take me out, my son out, because one of my oldest sons had already left the home. He was going to take my mom out, my dad out, and my sister out, and then he was going to take himself out. Because I was no longer in a position for him to have power and control over me. And once the power and control is gone, usually that's when the violence escalates. So, this particular night, the glass is breaking, the house is shaking. We're calling 911. 911 comes, thank God. This was when Vallejo did have police officers. I joke. So they came, actually, and I was very happy that they came. When the police officers get there, of course my cousin was nowhere around. But when I got outside, all 4 of my brand new tires had been sliced, so that was no good. But what had happened was that the police officers reached out, tried to reach my ex-husband. They asked him where was he at. And he said, oh, I'm at home, getting ready to go to church. But of course, he's on a cell phone. And the cops can tell that you're on a cell phone because they can hear you driving. So, little to his knowledge, by the time he got home, which in this particular point, I was living in Vallejo, the house that he was going to was in Pittsburgh. By the time he got to Pittsburgh, the cops were there, they pick him up, and they take him to jail. This time, out of all the 10 or 12 times that I've called for law enforcement assistance, this time he does go to jail. And you know, he's a pastor, so now he goes to jail. And here's what happened. In some domestic violence situations, I've seen some very, very serious cases. We've had some serious cases to the point where one victim was stabbed in her ear with a pencil. And the whole purpose of that was to kill her. But the gentleman who did it, when he got to court, said that he was yawning and she ran into the pencil, something like that. And believe it or not, some people do get off with stuff like that. So they try everything. But in this particular case, my ex-husband didn't get off this time because he was a pastor. All the other times before, he had gotten off because of the position that he held in the community. And then the people in the congregation, how they rallied around him. Oh, he's a great pastor. Yes, that's fine, but what's going on in the home? But, of course, nobody knew what was going on in the home because I didn't tell anybody, which is a normal behavior a lot of times of victims of domestic violence. They don't tell. They don't talk. So if you ever have a victim or someone that is open and willing and ready to talk to you, there are certain things that you need to do as a friend, as a supporter, to be able to help that person to get to safety. First thing you do is when someone is trying to get out of a relationship, never get out of a relationship if you can avoid it without setting up a plan. You guys remember the movie Jennifer, there you go. That movie. Do you remember all the things that she did in that movie? She had cars, she had ID, she had money, she had notified the neighbors. There are all kinds of things that you can do and should do in the case that you're trying to help somebody escape a violent situation. Because usually, remember the murder that happened in Hercules or so last year when the gentleman killed the girlfriend while he was driving? And then he killed a father and a brother and a son, and then he killed 2 other people or 5 other people. All that was because they were intervening, trying to help her get to safety. And they all lost their lives. I think it was 5 or 6 people that were murdered as a result of trying to help. So helping is very difficult if you're not ready for a plan. And there are sometimes, in some cases, we've had women that have come to our office with just the clothes on their back. We get in some cases, in those particular situations, we've had to get a bus pass or an airline ticket, train ticket, or whatever, and get her and her kids, if there are kids with her, from here to wherever, just to be safe. Because the level and the intent and thinking of a batterer is that he's losing control. He or she is losing control. Because we've had some women that have been very difficult to deal with as an agency, and then it's been very hard on the man that's been in this domestic violence relationship. I'm going to stop right there and give you
you usually hear about your children,
okay.
and the impact of domestic violence.
Well, yeah, I will. One of the things that I've tried to do in my domestic violence relationship when my kids were growing up, because I have 2 sons, is to keep as much of it away from them as possible. But, there's only so much you can do. I mean, we're hiding in the bushes, and they're 15 and 12. When this is in the middle of the night, we're not necessarily playing hide and go seek. So they know something is going on. So I share with them at that age what was going on and what was accurate in a relationship to do and what was not accurate in a relationship to do. And for my sons, even today, I've had to talk to both of them in particular relationships that they've been in. And I say, son, are you doing this? Are you following her? Are you calling her excessively? Are you using force? Or even if you're not using force, are you using verbal words that are not supposed to be used, the words that you wouldn't use in front of me? So I'm continuously educating my son